don't know what that means. And Nick, the sophisticated art speculator. How are y'all?
Pretty good. How you doing?
Couldn't be better.
Man, Sass, I'm excited you're on, man.
Me too, dude. Me too. Good to
Two
see you
days again. 2 days is what burned him out.
2 days, dude. Let's go.
Dude, they got you on me on to bring out the heavy hitters, man.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
When we said it was going to be Tech Tuesday, I didn't know we were going to bring John on. Spilling the dirty laundry.
Oh, man, it's Tuesday already. Damn.
All right, what are we talking about today?
Crypto Raiders, bro. Crypto Raiders.
What are
Crypto Raiders?
Yeah. Sass, you want to introduce Crypto Raiders, then I'll share my screen and walk us through how to make money on it.
Yeah, definitely. So Crypto Raiders, the best way to describe it is it's Zed run for dungeon raiding. You know, so it's like a World of Warcraft or a Diablo or a Path of Exile, where you're going to send your NFT characters into these dungeons. They're going to fight enemies, have a chance to if you kill the enemies and the boss, you get loot dropped. You use that loot to gear up your character, and then they can go in progressively harder dungeons. And there's also a risk of death involved, and that's what makes gearing up so important in this game. Because if you die, you end up losing your base character and potentially some of your items as well. So there's a test dungeon out already where you can walk through and you can go get some basic loot. And then this weekend there's a weapon dungeon where you're going to be able to go through and get a weapon in preparation for the first enemy dungeon, which is what's coming up. But if you've played these kind of games, you understand how many in-game transactions there are. And so it's a really good fit for like the NFT, microtransaction market. And so because of that, Crypto Raiders launched 2 tokens. So they launched their in-game currency token, which is called AURUM, AURUM. It's Latin for gold. And that is what people are going to use for all of their in-game transactions going forward. So you'll use that to recruit a new character. You'll use that as a fee to enter into advanced dungeons. You'll use that to buy potions on the item shop, etc. And then they have a second token called the Raider token. And the Raider token is it's almost like owning part of the game, because if you own the Raider token and you stake it, 50% of all in-game transactions goes towards the pool of people who are staking Raider. So if this game blows up, Axie Infinity just reached $1 billion in sales, right? If Crypto Raiders got to potentially $1 billion in sales one day, 50% of that 500 million would go into the staking Raider pool. So there's you're able to then stake Raider, and then you get this the 50% of in-game currencies, which is AURUM, and then you can sell off that AURUM. You can use that AURUM in game and essentially like free role playing and not actually have to pay any money to enter the ecosystem. In theory, if you have enough Raider staked, you'll make enough AURUM that you can play the game for free. You can also take the AURUM and go do another liquidity pool and create a sort of flywheel cycle for yourself.
Cool. So I pulled up the game so people can see the test dungeon. I got a couple old man, and I'm actually running it right now. It's completely automated. You don't have to do anything. It just runs through the dungeon during the test dungeon. I don't know if that's going to be the case moving forward. Sass, do you know, is it all automated?
Yeah, but it's actually going to be way more like in depth than what like people think. So like there's going to be more, what I would say, you're not going to ever have to like fully control your character and like do actions in a boss fight. There's multiple reasons why they don't want to do that approach. One reason is that there's potential for people to do scripts, right, and botting and stuff like that, right? If you played old Zelda games and stuff like that, you could hide in a certain corner, right, and like exploit a boss and have no chance of death, right? So if people are able to control that kind of stuff, it can cause some, some balance issues, but there will be decision making in the dungeon. So for example, you'll go by a room and it'll be like, do you want to go into this room? Do you want to enter this room? And you could go in this room and then there's enemy mobs that you're all of a sudden fighting. And maybe you get really dinged up and you got to leave the dungeon before you even make it to the boss and you don't even get any good loot. So there'll be kind of decision tree making like that.
I actually like that because like when you do think about like for some of the projects we've been thinking about behind the scenes, Sass, we've talked about it, John, we've talked about it. Like when you think about rewards based on web-based games and the scripting that can come into that and how, I mean, hell, we're seeing it right now with the botting and people able to, buy out an entire 10,000 drop in 2 seconds. Like the on rails aspect actually like is a good fix for this. Or like I could see a version in the future that's like Axie Infinity that eventually like V2 of Crypto Raiders is an app that you actually install and then you start implementing some of that additional utility. But for me, like the on rails or for people that aren't familiar, like if you're at an arcade growing up, like you don't walk around in an arcade, you go in a set directions and you can fire and do those types of things, but you have no control over where you go. This is like a good compromise for a game that's a really good concept to add some customization as it matures. And then I can totally see like them building out an app that you download and you start actually playing for V2, V3. So this is really exciting.
And shout out to some of the people watching on the stream. So Nat actually was the guy who came up with the entire tokenomics strategy and built all of the smart contracts and then also built the entire staking system on top. And he absolutely knocked it out of the park. And then there's also Jay Welsh listening, and he audited our tokenomics strategy and our smart contracts and everything like that. And he did a fantastic job as well. So shout outs to both of them. And then All Ether, of course, he's part of the Crypto Raiders team and he's been doing a fantastic job.
Hey, so Sass, do we have any details on what gear in this test dungeon is rare? Like I think I've got the brown.
Yeah,
jerkin,
so it's the purple.
robe?
Yeah, so I think it's like the purple robe maybe and the black robe are the most rare.
Okay.
But yeah, really like these items don't have any stats on them, but I think that they'll still have some sort of nostalgic value to them. And then also there's always the opportunity that Crypto Raiders can just airdrop stats onto these jerkins, sometime in the future and make them like a really cool OG item. Maybe they have a stat that works great on PvP or something like that. But the upcoming weapon dungeon, which will be this weekend, there will be stats on the items. So that's what's going to be exciting is we're going to kind of see the unveiling of the stat system. And it's relatively simplistic, but I think through that effective stat system. So it's going to be strength, agility, intelligence. And then there'll be, like certain modifiers that you can have on an item. So it could be plus 10% evasion or, plus 5% gold drop and stuff like that. But the core stats will be like, strength, agility, intelligence.
Hey, so let's divert for a second and talk about the
Can I say one
drops.
thing?
Yeah, go ahead, Mal.
Is this your first NFT?
No. What are you talking about? You got lots of NFTs. I don't share it with you. I don't make that alpha to you.
Just making sure. I saw 2 old men. I got 7 Tammys and you got 2 old men.
All right. So the token, we had big plans, Sass. How did the token drop go for you? Were you successful? Were you able to flip and provide liquidity when you wanted to, or how'd it go?
Well, yeah, since I'm affiliated with the team, I actually took the route of not doing anything at first because I didn't want to look like I was pumping or dumping. But like once the price stabilizes, then I'm going to 110% set up a flywheel strategy. But let me link you to the here are the 2 token charts. I'm linking them to you in Discord. So right now, Raiders at like a $57 million market cap, and AURUM is at a like $16 million market cap. And they had the kind of typical up and down early fluctuation, and now they've really stabilized in price.
let me launch this just so people. I think this is a cool app. I use this. I don't know if y'all use this, but I really like it. It's simple, and it shows what the price is done. You know, it's a traditional for Polygon. This is 8 mode, so you can see tokens that aren't quite as. But you can see right here. This is what you talked about: the initial launch, and then the drop off, and then the build back up. This is the AURUM. You said, is that pronounced right? AURUM?
Yeah.
Or is it AURUM?
Yeah. AURUM.
AURUM.
Yeah.
AURUM. AURUM. Okay. Okay. AURUM. And then this is the Raider token. This is the one that bounced up and down, and it's yeah. Let's go. It hasn't even been a full time. Yeah. So it bounced up and down. So I actually I got in and I made a rookie mistake, man. I didn't set my slippage to 50%. I only had it set at 30. So I actually clicked it quick enough to where I think I got in when they were priced at like 27 cents, initially 27 cents, but the transaction didn't fill because I didn't have my slippage high enough. So then I re-got and I actually got in at like 42 cents, like
Nice.
41 cents, and I actually cleared there. So, and then I popped into the LP pool, but I've been watching this thing bounce around. It did exactly what I thought it was going to do. It peaked FOMO at I think at about $2. I think it went all the way up to $2 at peak FOMO, and then dropped back down. And then you saw everybody that had the crypto raiders, because really cool thing was they did this thing where everybody that actually had a crypto raider got airdropped some tokens. And so you knew as soon as, based on the release, you knew that peak FOMO was going to happen. And then it was, as soon as they did the Raider release, there's going to be people just dumping. And it played out identically to what you thought it would do. Like at peak FOMO, it busted down, and then it kind of started to build back up, had some stability. And then you saw the Raiders release the airdrop, and people just started selling, right? And it dropped all the way down to 25 cents. And I was right there watching it. And I was actually with a buddy of mine. And he actually, I was calling out the sells because you could see them all here on Slingshot. You could see all and you could see all the dollar amounts. And I knew how much he was getting dropped. And I was like, I haven't seen your value yet. You're still holding. And then all of a sudden I saw his amount of tokens list. He had sold. And it was the absolute bottom. And it sprung up from there. And he's been messaging me all day bitching about it. And I'm like, dude.
Yeah, and that's what I feel bad about, because I mean, there's only so much, like, people are gonna do things. There's only so much education you can give people. Like, basically, I was saying, like, if you don't know tokens at all, like, wait a little bit, let the price stabilize. Like, you're not gonna have to deal with those crazy swings.
Be social.
Yeah, and
oh god, not to be social.
Joking.
Come on, man.
So, real quick, can I interrupt just because life is stranger than fiction? So our friend President Holdel, unfortunately, or fortunately for him, was pretty high up at Be Social, and they unfortunately or fortunately got attached to FaZe Banks, and then like simultaneously we become friends with you, and you infamously get attached to FaZe Banks.
DM me right now, you effing moron. Dude, it's one of the biggest memes. I see it in so many Discords now. But I also
sorry.
No, you're good. John, I also linked you in Discord the staking site. Have you been there yet?
Yeah. So let me pull that up here, because that's where I was gonna go next.
And so just to explain, it's bank dot. Yeah, there it is. So just because I wanted you to pull it up, because actually what's really cool, and you got to be on, I always mess up, you got to be on Matic in order to like connect and see like the total value locked. I don't know if you want to leak that.
Have you been here yet?
Yeah,
I've been here too.
Okay, cool. You've been optimism out? You tested it out?
Dude, they airdropped me a lot of stuff.
Well,
of course.
All right. So you want me to connect? Let me connect my wallet here.
Yeah.
I don't know which one it's connected to.
Yeah, and I think you got to be on Matic to see the.
I am. I'm on Matic. I'm there.
Yeah, I'm just on Matic right now. There we go. I just had it. Sometimes you have to refresh it a couple times.
Okay, let me refresh. Let me refresh.
Right now, there's $1.1 million locked into the Raider staking, and there's 1.3 million or 1.2 million.
Okay, I got it. Sorry, it took me a minute. Okay,
Yeah,
so there's over $2.3 million
locked. Yeah, and on the Raider side, that's mostly people locking for 3 months up to 1 year. So a lot of this, and that was what was really incredible, because with the price at 56 cents, the airdrop was effectively $2.5 million. So people, if everyone had dumped, it would have just crashed the price. There wasn't enough liquidity in the liquidity pools to start out. And some people did dump, but a lot of people are so bullish on the game that they went in and they said, okay, I'm actually going to stake or do the liquidity pools. So there's a couple of different strategies. And of course, you know, just for everyone to note, there's a lot of risks when it comes to crypto tokens. There's a lot of risk that comes to liquidity pools, more so than just straight up staking if you don't know like about impermanent loss and other things like that. But what's interesting with this token strategy that Nat built is that there's these really beautiful flywheels that can be created, right? So there's multiple things you can do. One is if you're a Raider player and you're like, I just want to play the game, right? Like I just want to play the game and I want to stack in-game currency. Then what you can do is you can stake Raider and you're going to earn AURUM for staking Raider. And then you could use that AURUM just to fund all of your in-game transactions. And if you accumulate enough Raider, then you'll be able to, you know, free roll all of your in-game transactions, and you can sell the extra AURUM you don't need or whatever you want to do with it. More aggressive strategies would be getting into the liquidity pools. If you get into either the Raider-matic or the AURUM-matic liquidity pools, you earn Raider. And then with that Raider, you can either sell it off, you can double down on the liquidity pools, or you can stake the Raider. But there's some really nice flywheels where essentially you can go into like Raider-matic liquidity pool. That's going to earn you Raider. Then you can take that Raider and then you stake it for 1 year in the Raider stake, and then you earn AURUM. And then you can then take that AURUM and you can put it into the AURUM-matic liquidity pool and earn even more Raider, and then take that Raider and throw it back into the Raider staking and create this awesome flywheel and accumulate a lot of Raider over time. If the game goes to zero eventually, of course, this is a worthless strategy. But if the game continues to get built in a great way and the in-game transactions pick up steam, then the more Raider you accumulate, the more AURUM you're going to earn. And then you can sell that AURUM off, you can compound it and add to the liquidity pools. There's a lot of different strategies. I mean,
so real quick, Sass, because I think we're going to have people that watch this later on that don't understand what this whole screen is. So just, you know, this is the very first one that he mentioned. This is just talking about staking Raiders, right? So this shows how many I've earned. This is the amount of, this is
Hey, will you
AURUM?
zoom in just a little bit so people can see it if they're watching on a smaller device?
Yeah,
just like
sure.
Command or Control. There you go.
Yeah, better?
Perfect.
Or no?
That's
Need
perfect.
More? We can do
Enhance.
Nah, like go back down like 2.
Okay. How's that?
Up 1. No,
right.
okay. I was kidding.
No. Hey, we're good. We're golden. We got it. All right. So this right here is I'm earning AURUM. So this is how much in-game currency I've earned for staking my Raider, right, Sass?
Yes.
All right. And so right now I've got 36.71 Raider token staked, which is worth $21. And because I've had this staked, and I actually staked, I committed to 12 months when I did this. So far, I've earned 5.21 AURUM for doing that, which is going to be the in-game currency. And so what you mentioned, that right now there's $11 million worth of Raider staked based on the price of whatever Raider is today. I think right up top, it's 57 cents right now, just under 58 cents. Cool.
I have an honest question. So like I was airdropped both Raider and AURUM, and I haven't done anything with them yet. So if I wanted to stake, do I have to transfer it to my wallet first and then stake, or what process would I have to go through?
Yeah, so it's already in your wallet. So you would just hook up to the Matic network. You would come to bank.cryptoraiders.xyz, and then you would just stake the Raider that you got airdropped, and then
I'll show you, Mal. Check it out.
Yeah.
Look, I've actually got some to stake. So right now in my wallet, I've got some Raider. So it shows you right here what's available to stake. It's got this little nice. Although, Sass, I really wish they would have had to click for the maximum instead of the copy and paste.
Yeah, for sure. That's a good idea.
So we can just say let's just, for the sake of the stream, we'll just do 2, okay? And then you pick how long you want to do, and they give you a multiplier. So the AURUM you're earning, the longer you stake it, the more it multiplies. So in this case, if I want to earn 4 times, it'd be like I'm staking 8. I can click 4x, and then I click stake. Now, but when you go the first time, I think it asks for your what's the terminology you guys use? Accreditation, allowance, or something.
Yeah. It's the contract interaction for the first time.
Yeah. So authorization or whatever. So it's going to be a different word than stake here. It's going to be something A. So you click it, and you'll go through a transaction you have to approve, and then the word stake will pop up after it's approved. And so then you can just, now that's done, now you come to the next, you do the stake and you confirm. And so this is going to take my balance, which was 36.71. It's going to take it up to 38.71. And, you know, then I'll start earning. And I assume that this will probably, 5.22 will clear out and go to my wallet. Is that right, Sass? It automatically clears out when you stake something new?
I'm not sure if it automatically does it or if you still have to manually claim it.
Okay.
I'm not positive on that one.
Okay, we'll see what happens. All right, so that's one flywheel there that he was talking about, just the staking of the Raider. And here's the liquidity provision that he's talking about. And for this, you have to go to Sushi Swap to get the LP tokens you need to do this piece right here.
Yeah, I think there's a link right there. Like, go here to make LP tokens.
Oh wow, you got it easy. All right, let me click this. Let me find out what happens. Let's make some LP tokens.
All credit to Nat for that. He built it.
Oh man, that's really nice. So you can come here, and you have to have Matic and Raider. And so I know I have Raider. Do I have Matic? I do. Looks like no, I don't. Let's see. There we go. I have some Matic and some Raider. So I can just by clicking max here, I can put the max amount of Matic in my wallet against an equivalent amount of Raider. This is in USD. So what this is saying is that the USD value of this is equal to the USD value of this. You have to come in equal parts. And so you can confirm adding the liquidity here. And so I'm gonna do it on stream here. Anybody can send me dick JPEGs now if they'd like.
Don't entice them.
Yeah.
But so, this is really important. Like, while this is happening, like, and if anyone has questions on how to do this, you know, join our Discord, reach out to Sass, reach out to John, reach out to them on Twitter. Like, it's intimidating the first couple times you are staking, but staking provides a tremendous value. And so when you guys talk about the flywheel and the potential, like if you're betting on this game being successful, it makes sense to not only buy, not financial advice, but it makes sense to also have the NFTs that are actually playing in the game, but also the economics of this are also beneficial, is what y'all are saying.
Yeah. So I just created that LP token right here. You guys can see I now have some value to stake here. Same thing. This word is going to be different when you go for the first time. Don't be intimidated. That's just I think it starts out as something else, then stake pops up. So you can just copy and paste this value here. This is the LP token, the amount of LP tokens I just got from Sushi, and I could take it, just pop it in here, and hit stake. And you'll see before I had. Let me just confirm this. This is my balance. This was my amount of LP. So you'll see this balance go up by, this amount. So, hey, look, by the way, it cleared it out. That was your answer, Sass. It cleared it out for me. Yeah, it cleared it out. So this will probably clear out too. So this one I've earned 5.28 Raiders since I started providing liquidity.
And see, that's the flywheel right there. Is you've earned 5.28 Raider. You can throw that Raider into the stake. That's going to earn you like more AURUM. Yeah. So, I mean, once again, there's, you only want to be doing this if you're bullish on the game long term and their ability to like execute like in-game transactions. But I mean, the cool thing is that it's all in-game transactions. It's not like it's just buying items or raiding dungeons. It's recruiting. So when they increase supply, like people are going to need AURUM to recruit. So that's going to create like positive buying pressure on AURUM. That's going to remove AURUM that has been earned as rewards back out of the ecosystem. And then people that are in the AURUM liquidity pool, for creating that liquidity will then earn Raider. And then you can take that and, do what you will with it.
So Sass, is there an AURUM burning mechanism, or are we just gonna, as the game progresses, it's gonna keep building and building and building, or we just don't have the burning mechanisms yet?
Yeah, so there is a burning mechanism. So we're able to increase or decrease supply. So it'll be important to maintain, AURUM as a healthy, currency and
Yeah,
relatively stable. It will have, fluctuations, of course. But if you look at Axie and like SLP, for example, like you make
yeah,
way more if you had bought and held Axie versus, try to speculate on their in-game currency, which is SLP.
for sure.
Um,
Yeah,
but then you can still sit in that liquidity pool, and like as you can see right now, there's an incentive. There's 200% more, yearly, accumulation if you're sitting in the AURUM, Matic pool. So
yeah.
you may not reap the benefits of the price going up as much as maybe like Raider will over time,
Mm,
but you'll get more Raider earned, as a result of the higher APR. And it was interesting. I was watching the charts yesterday, and I saw some people like sell, that had bought Raider and staked low. They sold off some of their Raider Matic LPs and went into Automatic because the APR was much higher.
yeah,
Now, big cat, big, like, not warning, but just the market cap for Raider is already at $50 million. You know what I mean? Like the game needs the game needs to be developed and really flowing for this thing to be worth 200 or 300 million dollars market cap. So it's going to take time. So and a lot of the
so
people in these pools got airdropped, essentially free coins to get into these pools. So like their risk is lower than someone just, buying in new. But there is upside in that. I think NFT gaming is going to be really big. So it's a bet on the game. It essentially
so
allows you, like, you can buy a character and just buy AURUM and play the game. That's the simplest way to do it. But if you're bullish on the game long term, you buy Raider, you stake it. Well, then you can essentially play the game for free. You know what I mean? Instead of doing
yep,
instead of buying AURUM every time you need it. And this isn't the only way that people can make money. People are going to be able to make money just raiding the dungeons and selling off the items, or raiding the dungeons and accumulating AURUM and trying to sell it. There's all sorts of ways that you can make money in the game, but if there's 50,000 people playing this game 6 months from now, and there's lots of in-game transactions, then the flywheel should look pretty healthy.
yeah. So AURUM is at like a cent and a half. So as long as I guess everything that I guess the market will bear it out. But right when you're trying to buy swords in exchange in the future auction house, right? Hopefully it doesn't sky up to where it's $100 or $200 for the sword, and hopefully stuff stays manageable. But you never know with these games when they first drop. The items always, so far from what I'm seeing, the crypto market, everything seems to be.
It's everything is speculative, so people
Yeah,
are
super
buying,
speculative.
yeah,
Yeah.
at like super high prices.
Yeah.
But yeah, like they have an upcoming recruiting event.
Mhm.
And like one of the issues right now is that there's a lot of people that want to play the game, but they don't want to pay, it's like $600 for a character or something like that right now.
Mhm.
So by doing the recruiting event, they're essentially going to be able to sell, like people are going to be able to recruit a raider and pay like a certain fee, and that certain fee is going to be way cheaper than the current floor price.
Yeah.
And so that's going to create lots of value towards the people that are holding on to raiders. They're going to get these new characters and be able to resell them on the market. Now, by the recruiting event, you would assume that it's going to suppress the price of the floor. But the interesting thing is that the recruits will be C1s, not Genesis. So Genesis gets more gold in dungeons than C1. So there will always be a premium on Genesis. There's a couple of whales in the community that are like, I'm not going to send a single Genesis character into a dungeon where they could die. I'm going to use these Genesis characters to be able to recruit other recruits and then send those into the dungeons. You know
Now
what I
there's a
mean?
limit on that, right? You had to have 10, if I remember correctly. Don't you have
It's
to have 10?
So it's going to be up to 10. So, but basically
Oh,
it's going to be like on a curve. Like, so if you only stake one raider to try to recruit, maybe you have like a 10% chance of getting one. But if you stake 10, you have like a 99% chance of actually getting a recruit. So it'll be kind of, and maybe a higher chance of pulling a rare. So it'll be like on a curve. But yeah, you could recruit with one, but you're not guaranteed that you'll get a recruit. And you'll only have to pay a fee to recruit the character if you successfully get it. So you can like throw a raider in there and say, okay, 10% chance, oh, I didn't get it, I didn't lose any money, or 10% chance, boom, I got a recruit, awesome. Now I have to pay, 500 AURUM to recruit the character. And so then that's going to create that positive, price pressure on the AURUM token. And then the increasing the supply should hopefully make some of the base unrated characters more affordable, and then like new people can come into the game.
Cool. So hey, let me push back on something you said a minute ago. You talked about how it's already a $50 million valuation, fully diluted, right? I mean, there's it's a year until, right? Isn't that correct, or is it already 50 million just based on market cap? Because I thought, based on the calculations, it was only 1 million raider coming into supply. Or
so I think that's a fully diluted market cap. So the actual market cap is lower. What do you think of that? What does that mean to you?
Well, I mean, to me, one of the things, especially with a game like this, and especially with the way they're doing the development, right? It's, this is one of these games that's going to be very iterative, and it's going to develop, and more features are going to be added. And so essentially for me, when I look at fully diluted value and I try to extrapolate what I want to pay for something, not financial advice, just my opinion, right? So if I'm looking at something fully diluted value, I say, okay, when does it actually hit that marker? And what does the ramp up to that marker look like? And where is it at right now in terms of the value right now? So if you think that the value created is going to outpace what the fully diluted value is going to be, over that time horizon, then it's a good buy. If you don't, then it's not a good buy. And that's the way that I evaluate things. I don't strictly just look at whether like the fully diluted value. I look at, okay, well, how long does it take to get there? How likely are they to execute the things they have on the roadmap? And what is that worth?
So Raider's coming out over 4 years. So essentially, if you think 4 years from now, Raider could be a $50 million company.
Exactly.
Then it's a buy. And I mean, 4 years is a lifetime in crypto and NFTs. A lot could happen, positive or negative. But another cool thing too is the fact that Nat is now working on the in-game auction house. And so the in-game auction house is where you're going to be able to buy, trade, and sell anything in the game. And it will be based on AURUM, and it won't be on OpenSea. There will be no need for OpenSea secondary fees. So people will save money by using the in-game auction house versus buying on OpenSea. And those fees, once again, flow to Raider.
Yeah, if I could make a recommendation, hopefully implement some sort of burn mechanic, like a true burn mechanic for AURUM, instead of just controlling supply, manually. Like have
I think that's
every transaction is going to burn AURUM, and so the more activity in the auction house,
I'm completely with you on that.
Yeah. Now what that is, you can balance.
Like it could be 33, 33, 33. Yeah, it could be like you burn 30% of it, 30% goes to the treasury, 30% goes to Raider stakers.
Yeah, and I would have the Raider staker have control over the amount that's burned in the auction house on transaction. So that way they can actually have control over that in-game currency supply. It gives the Raider token control over the supply. Instead of just burning it willy-nilly, they can actually do it through the auction house. So like if you see the token, there's too much AURUM in the market, you can increase the amount it burns per transaction. And that's a vote that
and make it a balance.
Raiders, yes. And so the Raiders knowingly saying, okay, we're gonna the value is not going to accrue directly to the Raider token holders, but indirectly through the decrease of AURUM in supply. So it's a really anyway, just came.
I like that idea. Yeah, no, that's really smart, and I think that's going to be necessary to
otherwise
pull AURUM out of the market. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, cool. Hey, there's something I have to ask Malachi, because he turned me on this project early, and it's this Tammy. Like I was in the Discord, and man, there was just Tammy twerking going on like nonstop. Malachi, what's the story behind this?
Man, I don't know. Just you gotta get all Ether back on here. He'll tell you all about the Tammy story. Tammy's thick, brought the like,
Dude, the
just,
gifts for Tammy are ridiculous.
It's just one of those things, man. You don't know what's gonna hit, but when it hits, and it's one of those things that like a meme becomes a legend, becomes that. Like I just really think like it draws back to like some of the childhood stuff, and I've talked about like Secret of Mana and Chrono Trigger, and like
Dude, we had different childhood, man. Tammy twerking was not my childhood.
Bro. You played Duke Nukem 3D, you know what's up.
Okay, all right. You're right.
Just blood everywhere. But no, I didn't see
no. There's certain areas, but it's just I don't know. It was cool. It was unique, and it was like, all right, do I buy the old man or do I buy a Tammy?
All Ether started the meme, and he's the official controller of Tammy's fate. It was funny because when they did the new character models, and we knew that there was going to be some pushback, people don't like change or whatever, and we showed the character models, but they were like front facing only, and people were about to like riot because they thought like Tammy wasn't like as proportionate to the like previous character, and their pixel artist was like, don't worry, like I'm making sure to like do her justice, like she's gonna be the Tammy that you fell in love with.
So that's when you on the Discord right before the token drop.
Oh yeah, so hype.
Oh my god, the amount of Tammys, it was just nonstop. It was crazy.
Yeah, it was wild, and I mean, it's just crazy how quick everything's moving. It feels slow at the same time, but then like also quick when you look at like the little roadmap. It's like, okay, they have heavily improved the character models. We're seeing the pixel art come through. The pixel art looks good. They've built the infrastructure for the game to work. You walk through the dungeon already with your NFT. You get gear. There's an inventory system. They've launched a token. I feel like in a month that's been a lot of progress, but the team's very aware that the next 2 months are critical because there has to be progression on the game, else you get inflationary effects on AURUM. Right? If no one's able to spend it, you'll lose interest of people. So yeah, the next 2 months are super important because the game's gotta turn into that real thing. But it's interesting though too because there's a lot of other games out there, and you can kind of compare apples to apples, like the progression. And I feel like Crypto Raiders' progression is at a fast clip.
Yeah, I've been pleasantly surprised. When Malachi first approached me and told me about the Tammys, I thought it was another one of these avatar projects, but then I checked it out. It's been pretty cool so far, for sure.
They're not out of the woods, and just like to provide some caution, like this is the same thing that we see with everything. Like we're building media, right? Like with Nifty Culture, and like Gary Vee could come and be like, "Hey, I'm going to throw 50 million at this," and like build his own media brand, and then it's like, "Oh, damn, what do we do?" And like, there's more than enough room for us and whoever comes in. And so the reason I use that analogy is that like, if you believe in the dev team, you believe in the game, you trust them, like there's going to be a million more games. Some of them may be more flashy. That doesn't mean that there's not going to be other areas for success. Like there's going to, just like there was the next CryptoPunk and the apes, and there's going to be the next ape. There's Axie Infinity. There's Avegachi. There's going to be more games. And I think one of the things that Nick really inspired me about is like, we need to hold everyone in the NFT space to be more accountable. Like each generation has to be more
better
accountable.
than last.
Yeah. And let's get like PFPs are cool. Like they're not going anywhere, like awesome. But what's really interesting for me is that this team, not financial advice, this is my own personal opinion. Like this team really has exceeded my expectations. Like I and honestly, like the exceeding expectations may have been detrimental, where it's like they could have done like 6 months where I expected very little and then delivered a whole bunch. But now they've set a pace where like they delivered a lot in a short time. And now there may be an expectation that there's going to have to be more delivery, and that may slow down. And so I think pacing that delivery is critical, but I also think like you also don't want to lose the distraction. And so they're at an interesting inflection point in terms of, it's like the World of Warcraft. Like, how do you pace the the expansions? How do you pace the content? How do you do this?
I think World of Warcraft is a perfect example.
Yeah, they need to be regular. Like it's like, okay, we're gonna go dark for 3 weeks, and then we're gonna do a week of updates. We're gonna go dark for 3 weeks and build a habit that people are used to seeing, where it's like trickling stuff, and then like a week of release, or even 2 months, whatever pace makes sense. But I also think that the community, like as soon as the game's released, like outside of the PvP dungeon, I think like the repetition of, okay, once a week I can go into a dungeon, I can do this. I also think that if you stagger them, where like I have to like some daily instant, like there's a lot of gamification where I don't want it to turn into a MOBA or like a mobile game where it's like, got to get my daily reward. But like something in between like World of Warcraft and like the daily games is going to be key, because you have to keep the affection and attention to the characters, and that'll be good for everything. For
so true. And I think it's smart to keep the actual dungeon rating as something that a casual player can keep up with, and then you add the complex layers in the stuff you can do outside the dungeon. So for example, outside the dungeon, maybe you can do PvP, or you can level up skills like potion making skills, and then you can have characters that actually can craft their own potions for an AURUM fee, and then be able to sell that on the market for like a premium, right? Like things that people can do outside the dungeon. The dungeons have to be balanced, where it's not like Axie Infinity and you have bots running them 24/7, because then there's no way to stop item inflation from just going bonkers. And if item inflation goes bonkers, then items aren't valuable anymore. But then that's also why they have this death mechanic, where they can say, hey, oh, you want to go into this dungeon and get the super rare, drop? Well, maybe there's a 10% chance of death, and having that, risk there that like makes it so someone can't just bot farm a dungeon. But I'm completely with you, Malachi. And that's the thing about WoW too. If you look at WoW, they launch a new release, it's super hyped for 2 months, then people really do the content and it kind of fades and the player base drops, and then they do another launch and then people come back in. I expect to see the same waves with Raider. It's impossible to keep everybody insanely hype every single week for the next year. There's going to be peaks and valleys in this thing, but I think if you believe in the team and the long-term roadmap, a year from now, it can be, something potentially big. The key thing right now is hiring. So the Pixel team, I know, is completely hired out and they're good, but now it's the dev side, and the dev side dictates a lot of what's going to be able to get done. And so what's actually really exciting is that Excalibur, the dev, posted in the Discord saying, we're looking for, Solidity devs, Web3 devs, people that know how to work with Unity, all these different things, and got like 15 applications from really talented devs, good resumes. They had Y Combinator back startups on the resumes, etc. And that's what's exciting for me, because if we go from 1 dev to 3 really good devs, then what can be accomplished? And the cool thing is that the team, it's actually wild. This team has made less than your typical profile pick project, because they charge very cheap mint prices. The team raised like a total of 450K. They haven't made any money on the tokens, but had to provide 200K of initial liquidity. So the perceived value is there. But like they've put a significant amount of their funds in there. So they're maybe going to have to raise money or something like that to like afford a big dev expansion. But the other thing that's really cool is the devs are obviously bullish on the game. If they're in the Discord, these devs are going to take 1-year option locks on Raider as a part of their salary package, you know what I mean? And bet on themselves and the game development. And if these devs crush it for the next year and Raider goes from 50 million to 100 million, they could make more off of their token share than potentially what they make in salary, which is fun to think about.
Excalibur's only 12.
He's the best 12-year-old I've ever met in my life, though. This kid's a genius. No, Excalibur actually is a very talented developer and has an experience in building games and has been developing for a really long time. And I think you can see by all of the different things that have been accomplished. And then we have Nat on the team. And the awesome thing is we all have gaming backgrounds. So it's not just like people that don't love gaming getting into it. Like Nat played World of Warcraft growing up, like thousands of hours in the game. That's who you want building your auction house. You know what I mean? Because it's going to be passion. It's not just going to be a job. It's going to be passion. That's what's fun. I think if you can get a gaming company to work out, it can be fantastic because people are passionate. That like we were in the process. I helped them hire the pixel artist. The pixel artist was so bizarre because it was like we were telling them about the game and he was just like, what do you guys like, what and like showing initial art, he's like, what, has all of these questions, shows them the website, like then he goes to the website, sees the Discord, clicks on the Discord, and goes to the Discord and goes, holy shit, like okay, like they're actually, and just pulled a 180 and is like, I'm in. And it was at first like I only can put 20 hours a week in. And now this guy's like working 2 jobs, putting in 34 hours a week, just cranking out. Like right now he's working on, with the upcoming recruitment event, there's going to be 3 potential new character types. And we're going to let the community decide which character they want. And then that's going to be one of the potential recruits that you can get.
So Sass, can you drop some alpha on this stream? What is this reward you get if you are locking...
I'm looking for my airdrop.
Yeah, if you're locking raiders for over 3 months, what's the reward? And when does the snapshot happen for the actual lock? Let's drop some alpha on the stream.
The snapshot will happen. Everyone will be prepared. There'll be like at least a week notice that the snapshot's going to get taken. And this will be one of many airdrops over time. So there's going to be potential things we can do. For example, the first time we come up with and test potions, we airdrop the potions to stakers and let them run it in the game and see if it's balanced, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This first one, without saying too much, it's going to be some sort of like awesome art, kind of commemorating crypto raiders and the different characters, but like high def art. Almost like, you know, how people commission like, like make really cool World of Warcraft art pieces that are better than the actual art in World of Warcraft. Something like that, I think, will be the first airdrop, but it's still tentative depending on the progression. It could be an item, over time. It could be a weapon that you can get. It could be a buff that you could apply to a certain dungeon. All sorts of possibilities.
Awesome.
Yeah, but I think the first one, someone was like, I think the first one's going to be a raider, and then they said, I'm going to go buy 1 raider token and stake it for 3 months, and I'm like, no, you're not going to get a new raider for 70 cents. Like, that's not going to be the airdrop. Like, I hate to break it to you, but
damn, Sass, I spent all afternoon filling wallets.
There's someone out there. There's someone out there with like 3,000 wallets right now.
Yes, me.
Yeah. We'll make sure to take care of you. Don't worry.
That's awesome.
So listen to this. There's a whale in the Discord that's been really bullish on the game and on the tokenomics, and bought a lot of the tokens and staked them. And while we were on stream, he announced that he just staked another 100,000 raider for 1 year. So just put another 70K into.
Shout out to Danny.
Yeah,
it wasn't Danny.
Oh, Danny.
Danny's on vacation.
No, it's a guy named Cuppy. But see, and here's the thing: is that's a risk betting 70K on a game, but his share of staking rewards as a result, his percentage of the pool is going to be significantly higher. That if this game's clearing 2 million in AURUM transactions a month, he may be getting 5% of that every month or something like that, and then can use that AURUM and flywheel it into AURUMatic and get even more raider. So there's going to be whales looking for ways to accumulate, essentially, and this is not a security and this is not financial advice, essentially equity in the company, essentially not in the company, but the game, ownership of profits of the game, in a kind of decentralized manner, which is really cool to see. And it gets the team incredibly excited because at the end of the day, it lives and it dies on community. And that's why the number one thing that I've learned from other people that have been successful in the NFT community, like Beanie with the Punks comics. Why is a Punk comic almost 2 Ethereum? Because he is nonstop. His number one objective, and he says it, is to embed value back into the holders of the project. And the more that you do that, the more that you create loyal people in bullish action. What's this? Dune Analytics. This looks cool.
What are we looking at?
This is OpenSea?
Yeah, I'm muted, but like when I wanted to like show this because like I wanted to ask you a question, but I wanted to do it with data. And so what's really interesting is like this is slightly different than, so a lot of comparisons are being made right now to Nifty Gateway, and a lot of them are true. Like I'm emotionally drained with the amount of PFP action, and like it's like I take your approach where it's like I bought three. I'm gonna tell a diatribe for a minute, and then we'll ask the question. Is like I bought 4 pudgy penguins, and I got like the 14th rarest penguin. I didn't know it. I sold it for 0.5 Ethereum, and like the penguin market's dead. It sold yesterday for 20 Ethereum, right? And then like you look at the PFP like landscape, and it's mentally draining.
It's mentally draining.
And we sit here and like I'm gonna take my micro gains all day because like I'm creating wealth like every day. Like I'm making more than I'm at my real job, like spending an hour a day just finding things and flipping them. But we're also seeing this crazy thing with OpenSea that looks a lot like Nifty Gateway. But for me, I actually want to like propose the opposite. Like if you look at total OpenSea traders over time, like
that's a rocket to the moon right there.
John likes to say parabolic frequently, but like the amount of people that are coming into OpenSea, if you thought about like on April 4th, it was less than 100,000, right? And, yesterday, my birthday, we're at 183, we're passing 211. And then you look at the daily volume. If you look at the amount of money today, 61 million spent on OpenSea volume. Yesterday, 74. All-time high is 78. But if you look at yesterday or today's, before today even completes, it is greater than July combined on a daily basis.
That's
and so
insane.
I just think
insane.
and my point of all of this is that there is so much new like excitement around NFTs. And how does crypto raiders distinguish or remove themselves from the PFPs? Because my concern, my frustration, and I was on Spaces recently. Like I've got my Takashi Murakami, I've got my Kanye West, my Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. I've got like everything else that I've got pictures of my family. All of these, like if I were to put them into NFTs, they'd just be bucketed as NFTs. One is fine art, one is music, one is personal. And so like mass media and everything that's happening right now is how do the utility games and the utility aspects from Gary Vee, the utility aspects of the metaverse and HQ, how do they start distinguishing themselves from the NFT bucket? Because the PFPs, like they're going to pop. And so like, that's my concern is if I'm investing and I have elements of DeFi, I have elements of NFT, I have elements of utility, and I have an awesome game and cool pixel art all packaged into one, how do projects start thinking about themselves differently to make sure that when media destroys it, everyone doesn't FUD out?
I think that the macro NFT environment, there's a lot to micro. Right now, the micro NFT market is for affluent people in the macro sense. It just is. The average person in America can't go and drop $10,000 on an NFT. You know what I mean? That's just not reasonable. But that part of the market doesn't have to go away. Look at the art market. It's all rich people and it's massive, right? So like the high end of the market doesn't have to go away, but the macro NFT market has to shift down in price and up in utility to maintain the growth and get a ton of user adoption. So to first get into crypto raiders, it was because the Ethereum was down below 2K and you could get a character for 0.015. It was like 25 to $30 to buy a raider. Now it's like $600 to buy a raider. That's not accessible for a lot of people, especially when you're considering you probably want multiple raiders because there's a risk of death. And then there's also going to be in-game transactions. That's why Excalibur is working on some really interesting permanent recruitment mechanics where you can make recruiting instead of an event maybe a permanent possibility, but they have to remove their character from being able to raid that week and like sit in a locked stake to potentially recruit. And you can adjust the recruiting probabilities in the recruiting price based on user growth and making the game have an affordable entry path. And right now, a lot of people are holding because they have Genesis. But like once you release C1 through a staking event, if they increase supply by another 5,000, I can see a lot of people holding their Genesis and flipping their C1s. And the C1 floor goes down to 0.1 or maybe below 0.1. And people may freak out when they hear that, but that's healthy for the game because a character should be expensive when they have a lot of gear and rare gear and they've leveled up and they have bonkers good stats. That's what should be going for 3, 4, 5 Ethereum. And for some guy that has $100, you know what I mean, and wants to get into the game, they should be able to buy a shitty base character, you know what I mean, and then go into some beginner dungeons and start gearing up, you know what I mean, and getting them in. So that's the delicate balance, is that a lot of PFP projects want to go up in price, you know what I mean, but their utility games have to figure out how to have a curve where the really expensive stuff exists and is at the top because that attracts whales and that attracts a lot of big gamers, but then it has to curve down and be accessible for someone to get in at the very bottom for an affordable price. Because $600 prices out a lot of people in America, and then you think internationally, prices out even more. Axie went too far the other way, though, where whales don't even want to play the game. They farm it out to scholarships to people in the Philippines who then grind out the game. You know what I mean? So they're almost inverted where they're, I don't want to say too cheap on the spectrum, but you know what I'm saying? Like they are on the side of the spectrum where you know, you need the ability to curve up where like someone that has $100,000 apes into Crypto Raiders, gets some super rare characters and is doing the LP and the staking, all of that. They're having a blast and they're doing all the hardest dungeons and getting crazy rare loot and selling it off. But then you have to have people at the other end of the ecosystem that have $100 and they want to get a character and they want to start raiding and participating in the game. So that curve is super important, and it's going to take time to get right. There's going to be fluctuations where, you know, there's too many, you know, characters, or there's not enough characters. It's going to take balancing.
Dude, I don't envy Excalibur and trying to develop that mechanic. It's like for me, a game's value, you know, the playable, how much fun, how much enjoyment. But really, when you really get down to it, it's you know, now in today's market, it's how big is the player base. You know, it's like I hate to say Metcalf's law again, but so you have this dynamic between wanting to expand your player base but not alienate the earliest holders, and it's, man, I wouldn't want to try to engineer that. That's going to be a real challenge.
Well, and that's why on the recruitment side, doing the Genesis curve, Genesis to like the latest. So like by the time we get to like the 6th generation of recruits, they'll have like a 0% gold modifier going into a raid versus a Genesis will have a 30% gold modifier. And that's where like that, and it's going to curve down. So if you have like a C3, you'll have like a 15% gold modifier. That should embed value back into the older characters. And then also the fact that if you recruit with a Genesis, you always get a C1, right?
Yeah.
But if you recruit with a C3, you get like a C4 or a C5 or a C6, right? So then Genesis can recruit and get higher tier base models that like sell for a premium. So that's one way where like the C6 could be $50, but the Genesis is always at least 500, 600 or 1,000 to buy.
Okay. Cool. Hey, listen, I want to make one suggestion, Sass. I've been sitting here thinking, because I already set up all these wallets and I was looking for a Raider drop, like an actual Raider drop. Can we do like you know how, what was the liquidity aggregator 1inch? You know how they did their token drop, but they set a minimum in terms of the value you had to have in your wallet. Remember that?
Yep.
So
yep.
Somebody went out there and created a bunch of them, and so they were like, nope, it had to be over $20. Yep. Maybe you guys could do like some sort of economic value and then drop a Raider, because I got lots of wallets that are LPing and I want my Raider.
Johnny.
John's layer. I was wondering why the unique wallet count increased by 100 yesterday. I thought we got 100 new users. We just got 100 John wallets.
That's right.
Let me tell you about John as a roommate
In college. Tell me about him in college.
Johnny, Johnny, just briefly, and then we can end. I don't want to get
let's don't make me. I'll fire my stories out here, man.
It's
Johnny.
It's a Western shoot out here.
Johnny's gonna move in with me, and he's
watch
like, hey,
out.
I got this guy, and he's my best friend in high school. We're like 19 at the time. He's like, he's gonna move in with us. You don't know him, but trust me, I'm a brother because we're in a fraternity together. And I'm like, and coincidentally, you're not going to believe this, Sass. P.O. was in the same fraternity as us.
Did you know him at the time?
No, Kappa Sigma. Like, he's 10 years younger than us. He's Kappa Sigma. Me, Mike, Rob.
You should haze him. He should know your name. You're on the wall. You're on the wall.
He's coming to Texas. Maybe we would never do that. So real brief, because I know we got to end because we're at an hour. But so like this is Johnny and his wallets and asking for these things. So I'm like, all right, yeah, cool. Your best friend that you've been friends with for your whole life can move in. And he's like, all right, cool. So the move-in day comes, and Johnny says, bro, I'm not going to move in. And I'm like, it's my mom's house. She's like renting it out to us. I'm like, well, that sucks. Now I got to go find $300 a month of rent. He's like, something came up. I can't move in. But my friend's still going to move in. I had never met this guy in my whole life. So now Johnny with his wallets and asking for the handout. Long story short, though.
It turned out great.
His friend became the best man at my wedding, and it's been fun. But don't give him shit. That's all I got.
Dude, do I need to dive in my story now, or can I wrap up now? Hey, just so the viewers know what you're dealing with here. No, I got to tell the story. I told Sass this before we got online. Malachi's the guy that when we were having a party in college, he used to call the cops on himself. If he didn't like the girl, the guy ratio, he'd have the cops show up and he'd walk around and be like, hey, you stay. And then the cops would drag everybody out and the party would continue. And sometimes he'd call twice.
Party's over. Get out. Party's over. Yeah. Anyway, we ended on a dud. We're going to put these into tutorials. It's awesome. I'm really looking forward to Crypto Raiders. My 7 Tammys is really awesome. Thank you, Nick, for walking us through this.
And I really appreciate, John, your perspective on the token side, and Malachi, you as well. You guys have both really good big picture perspectives on, what needs to be done. And so I really appreciate that. I'm going to take all of your feedback back to the team and make sure that Tammy will be the name of your next boat.
Thanks, Sass. Drop me a cyborg. My wallet's on the stream.
You got it, dude.
God, yeah.
No one else, though. No one else DM me.
Hey, thanks, everybody. We might be doing a Crypto Raider giveaway within the next month.
Hell yeah.
Make sure you like, subscribe, get us to 10,000 followers. Maybe we'll give away one of these Tammys. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Everyone have fun. Have a good one.